Hello everyone, welcome to the platform SIG meeting, the kind of regular one, every 2 weeks in general, but I think it's been slightly less in the past weeks for reasons. So we are going to discuss today a few things. I'm going to share my screen right away about the agenda. Now people should be seeing my screen. So the agenda for today is to do Brazilian action item recap, and then we will probably cover indeed some Java 11 related subjects, and then random issues around various subjects. So let's dig into that right away. Before we start, anyone has anything to say or to ask for? I'll take that for a no, I suppose. So just a reminder before maybe we start, please feel free to join. We are generally following and hanging out in the platform SIG channel on Gitter under the GTI organization. So feel free to ask questions there, and we generally are trying to follow. And so also maybe another reminder, this is an open source project. So when I'm saying we, I'm really talking about anyone who's willing to dedicate some time, some effort in that initiative. We welcome anyone in that regard. So back to the agenda. So Oleg wanted to poke the Dell list on the JEP 217. Oleg, you want to explain or discuss that?
Yeah, so we had a discussion in the platform SIG meeting, but we didn't have a discussion in the developer mailing list. So in the thread, I added a Jenkins developer mailing list to the thread as well. So I assume that this action item is done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And so I don't remember, we had a lot of feedback about that, but yeah, basically it's, so for anyone watching, it's about that. And also, I think there was an action probably since last time by Olivier Vernin, who created the setup and the variables inside ci.jenkins.io and trusted.ci.jenkins.io that would actually enable us, that's kind of the gist of the JEP, correct me if I'm wrong, to enable us kind of automatically to just use that variable to automatically deploy either to the Jenkins/Jenkins CI that thing.
Yeah.
It's either there or either experimental or the Jenkins 4. I think it's been changed once. I don't remember if he decided finally the name, but yeah, basically changing variabilizing here.
A quick update on that. We have patched the libraries for that, and we also updated JEP. So current, I have pasted the link to the chat, and the current version of the JEP reflects these variables.
Yeah,
so it's available for evaluation, and yep, now we are waiting mostly for evaluation feedback, and we agreed that Olivier will be the delegate, so we are waiting for KK to officially assign him.
So this is where in our publication script that basically we variabilize this, and that makes that automatically on ci.jenkins.io, which is the public instance for anyone that can kind of use it, is going to deploy things. And that's also kind of why, maybe for people watching, we want to remind that nobody should be using that for production purpose, the Jenkins experimental thing, because it could be more easily maybe taken over, hacked. So that's why only the Jenkins/Jenkins should be ever used for production, because that one is generated from a more security segregated instance. So yeah. Yeah, so I think we covered your meeting notes done, Olivier. Right, okay, so you're doing a great job, I think, Mark, thanks. So yeah, so that's by the way action item, but relates to Java 11 work, right? Great, we already covered that a bit later. I mean, when we cover this. But basically, the global serialization issue has been tackled, done. Right. Was that one, I think. And what about the status about that one? It's still open. Right. So I'm going to, by the way,
Yeah,
ping.
we definitely need to scrap it. And it would be nice to have Java 11 label or maybe Java 11 compatibility so that we see it in our common queries.
I'm going to post a public comment.
Yeah, this one does need a label. You're right. This one was the problem actually during upgrading JBoss marshalling itself, right? Not upgrading Jenkins. It was a change in the underlying JBoss package.
Yeah. By the way, unrelated comment, Baptiste, you're not presenting to everyone. So you're not pinned, and in YouTube, likely we see Mark's face now.
Oh,
Really?
Unless I messed up something. But yeah, I'll check YouTube right now.
Yeah. Really? Okay, let me see.
Or maybe I messed it up.
No, I thought I was doing the right thing, but
okay.
So that's the thing. And now, so should be seeing that I'm pinging Jen, Bryden, and everybody. Could this issue has surfaced during the platform SIG meeting? Could it please be triaged?
Yeah.
Could options?
Yeah, and probably we need to add a stack trace from configuration as code plugin chat. Just a second, I'll repaste it in the platform SIG.
Sorry, what?
So yesterday we get one strange report about a program.serialization, which is maybe related to this issue.
You mean that one?
Yeah, this one. Probably it's related.
I mean, yeah, I commented in answer here. We didn't get an answer, but basically, I am suspecting that maybe that person, restarted in the middle of a running pipeline, which would be, a documented failure,
Yeah.
So yeah, and we probably need. I mean, I'm not going to worry too much until this person actually files a report, but until then, I'm going to suspect that it's just because it was restarted in the middle of this, and we do know that given the serialization format did change, this is a one-shot issue that anyone is going to have to go with. But yeah, it's kind of a small one. You just have, when you go from workflow support pre 3.0 to post 3.0, to make sure that you have no running pipeline for that very upgrade. And then you can do business as usual, basically. So yeah, it's kind of you're right, that's a concern. But yeah, for now we have no ping back or anything else since, so we'll see if it goes back or if it's confirmed. But even that person, if I remember correctly, said that basically, I think yeah, you're right. Apparently, basically the issue is gone. So it's really looking. That's what made me think, well, it's probably that kind of issue that something was running and then next time it just never will be visible again, because then the format is upgraded and that's it. Because that has nothing for people watching. That has nothing to do with the Jenkins version itself, but more about the workflow support version when you upgrade from pre 3.0 to post 3.0 again. So yeah, nice point. Did I, by the way? I'm not even sure. I didn't add. So yeah, great. Devin discuss upgrade warning. I'm wondering what that means.
So that was he needed to discuss how that they were okay with putting a warning inside the Workflow Support 3.0 plugin. They were okay with it. He did it. You're showing it on the screen.
Yeah, so it's only the changelog. So and then I understand. It's not like in an admin monitor or something, but I guess it's already enough.
Yeah, we have compatible since warning, so all upgrading users.
Yeah, right.
All users who upgrade from a web UI will see a warning.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people
Yeah,
not really knowledgeable about that thing, it's in a Jenkins plugin we can document
yeah, right.
the fact that a given update is compatible since only some specific versions, and so in such case, it's going to trigger a warning when a user is going from that version, from something that's lower than that to that thing or higher, basically. So yeah, it's going to also surface from the update manager itself. So that's just great.
Mhm.
That's the case. Indeed, the next one is kind of, I guess, related to that.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, right. Mark raised a Docker issue, not necessary, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's because indeed we realized after the fact that GDK, only OpenGDK 11 was using SID for reason we didn't understand really. But Mark, do you have some notes to that, or you think?
Yeah, the only point there was that we were, for whatever reason, generating with an old version of the JDK 11 image. The JDK 11 image on Docker was newer, and the act of constructing a new one switched us from Debian SID to Debian Stretch. So we're now on an official, a released and supported version of Debian instead of on unstable.
Yeah, but only for Java 11 packages, right? We didn't change Java 8 packages.
Well, Java 8 was already on Debian Stretch, so
Mhm.
you're correct that we didn't alter the base in fact, what we did was Java 11 now uses the same base operating system major version as Java 8 does.
Okay.
Yeah, and for anyone having a look, indeed, Mark still did a change in the Docker file for the Java 8 package, but it's like going from latest to stretch, which currently means the same thing. But the good thing is that now it's not going to update automatically, randomly at some point. Instead, it's going to stay on stretch until we decide otherwise. Sorry. Is it the case? Am I correct, Mark?
You expressed it correctly. Yeah, all I did was widen the declaration from OpenJDK 8 to OpenJDK 8-stretch. And it turns out they point to exactly the same thing at tested point, and it makes explicit that we are based on, for now, Debian Stretch. Someday in the future, we may, as a project, choose to base ourselves on another Debian version, but right now it's Debian Stretch.
That's the thing we were referring to, right?
Correct.
So
topmost
currently that is synonymous to that. So it might not be the case in the future, but at least we won't see any upgrade that, when it happens when we didn't plan it and something starts screwing up everything.
Right.
Right. Mark has opened a chip for Docker. Not done.
Right.
Keep transaction. Right. Indeed. That's the discussion that last time we had, that we probably want at some point to try and clarify the kind of target platform we support and the thing we don't. Because right now it's more like, correct me if I'm wrong, like an organic growth and like de facto growth that's been happening along the years, that we added like Slim, Alpine, blah, 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 anything. But some things like Alpine finally proved to be problematic recently, and that's kind of the trigger for this.
Correct, and I will open that, JEP. The idea is let's define some rules that we'll use as a project to select the operating system we do and don't support. At least start the discussion. I don't know how they will ultimately end, but start the discussion using a JEP.
Yep. I had an action item to do the same for Windows.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Might be. I mean, I'm by the way wondering if we should
take that action item from you, so that we should just put it in the list of action items for this meeting.
Well, you can create an action item. I need to clarify some bits before I go forward with Windows support.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think indeed that probably wouldn't make sense to have a JEP now, and I'm reading it like more precisely. I think we probably would want. Don't we want to have a single JEP for, like, the Jenkins project proposed kind of supported, if there's anything like support on the open source side, platforms. And I guess it would be easier and clearer that we have only one, instead of like one for Windows, one for Docker or whatever.
There are two parts. We may have separate JEPs, but it definitely makes sense to have a single operating system's support page.
Yeah.
Because now we don't have explicit definition of what we support, at least on Jenkins.io. Maybe we have some obsolete wiki pages. As a part of hackathon in June, we created one page for Java support. Before that, we didn't even have official Java support policy.
Yeah. The requirements.
Yes, so yeah, creating operating system support would be definitely helpful for Jenkins users. Though it's hard to say where you can run Jenkins now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always hard because I'm always a bit stretched about the phrasing in like, because support is like there is like, you know, SLA or whatever. It's not really the same thing. Like it's like when we're helping and not supporting people on the users list or something.
No, I wouldn't worry much about that because Debian certainly declares things that they will, configurations they support in the sense of that. I think we're no worse than they are in using the word support. Don't panic about the word.
So we will definitely need to write something, but that's why we have JEPs. We can discuss it.
Exactly that, because yeah, the process is also kind of the final thing is interesting, but the journey, the process, you know, triggering emails on dev list, having people discuss of a specific issue is also a very important part of this. Even if in the end we know we end up writing anything, but it's already something interesting, right? Anything else? I guess we did the kind of action item part, and we are time is still correct.
Yeah,
we've done like half of the meeting time, so we are good for now.
We should move on.
Yeah, absolutely. So Java 11 blocking issue status report. Do you want anyone wants to cover that?
Well, I just returned from vacation. I have no idea.
Really?
Surprise! I have disabled Jira notifications. I have a few thousand of notifications which I'm not going to read.
Really?
I need some time to catch up.
No problem. That's absolutely expected and normal. Just mark everything as read now, so that you can start new. Yeah, so the status is right now looking good. For instance, the really outstanding thing, so last time was really about the workflow support plugin, which was kind of a mess last time. We had a version that was, you know, specifically released for Java 11, and one that was specifically, so the previous one that would only work on Java 8. But in the end, Devin Nussbaum found a way to fix that for everything. And so just kind of, so it ended up being an upgrade for JBoss Marshaller. And that's the reason why I was explaining earlier that you have to kind of suffer a one-shot issue when you're upgrading to that version, and it's already doable right now, even if because it's been released already and already updatable too for Java 11, Java 8. Jenkins is running. Jenkins running on Java 8 already. So the good thing about that also is that, you know, the workflow support 3.0 is going to be something that's going to be already handled and deployed and, you know, kind of battle tested already, even before we reach the point of the Java 11 GA. So that's really a nice thing, because that was really the outstanding issue we had, because basically pipeline would just immediately crash after startup. So yeah, that's great. The rest of I guess the main things are probably the Jenkins issue that's about. So right now, for anyone wanting to run Java 11, you have to pass a variety of, indeed, summarized here in that entry. Yeah, so you have, when you run Java 11, Jenkins on Java 11, you have to pass those options if you want to have no issues. It's actually a bit more, the situation is even slightly better than that, because even if you don't pass those, you are going to probably be able to run Jenkins without any issue for a substantial number of Jenkins plugins. The thing is, you could at some point install a plugin that's using actually Jaxby, or depending on some extracted models from the JDK after Java 11, and then everything will start crashing, at least for that plugin. So that's a thing we are trying to work on right now, and making add models unnecessary anymore. In the JEP 211, which is the one describing Java 11 that's been written by our own Oleg, our super champion. Basically, it's said there that we are going to try to remove those, but it's not really a goal. It's a might. We may be able to remove these, but it's not going to be considered a blocker, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So just to explain why it was stated in such way, we are really interested to have to retain full compatibility and to retain full compatibility of CLI, so that users can migrate to Java 11 without even noticing, and that we don't need to rework all packages, packaging flows, which also integrate Java 11. So our current state that we updated Docker, so all Docker users just do not notice that we do something to attach these libraries. But ideally, we would like to have something in the Word file, and there are multiple ways to do that. But we haven't fully investigated these ways yet. There were some experiments which didn't work. There are still some options which may work. So if one of these experiments work well, my preference would be to have full compatibility and to avoid inclusion of models in such way. But if it doesn't work, then yeah, we can probably say that for Word files, you have to specify the components externally. And actually, for us, JAXB is just beginning, because there are more models which may require explicit definition. And we expect more models to be excluded from Java in further versions, Java 12 and so on. So ideally, we would need to have an engine to prevent that. But if we cannot find any workable solution for now, then yeah, we may go with GA with such a breaking change.
Yep. So that's the Jenkins issue already 5 I'm already looking into. I've been digging into completing or analyzing more and building on top of the work already done by Oleg, Kosuke, and Jesse, I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And especially during the Hackfest that happened last June about Java 9 plus work, basically. So to summarize, the situation, as I was kind of hinting about a few seconds ago, is still looking good, because when I analyze this, basically close to no plugins, I would say. I mean, yeah, there's a handful of those, but compared to the 1,500 plugins, there's like no plugins impacted, because even in that list, there are things like here that have no, so that actually have the phrase Java XML bind, but it's actually not, something like a plugin. So not even the full list is relevant. So we don't have a lot of issues. Basically, I was first having a hard time actually to trigger an issue on JAXB. So I ended up having one after a recommendation from Oleg, trying out the slog count plugin, for instance, which I'm working on right now to see what's the best way to fix it. But basically, there are we have many options to fix it. I already fixed it in 2 minutes just by adding JAXB in many locations, and every single tests I did was working. So that's kind of, I'm generally pretty optimistic about that, but I'm generally too optimistic, so I'm trying to be focused. So the situation is looking good. Kind of getting back to the thing we are supposed to discuss. The status is that we don't envision a lot of blockers. We are about to be able to run a full ATH and PCT runs under these Java 11 peeps.
Don't we already run ATH?
Yeah, we run ATH, but we didn't run I think we run a variety of PCT runs on a like dozen of plugins, but not hundreds at least. And so there was the OSSATH runs, which I think went probably quite fine, but I don't think we analyzed a lot of this. So overall, we probably need to rerun a full run and get a hold of it. And there's a document, by the way, I don't have the link handy, about the PCT status. So PCT is plugin compatibility tester. Is a tool that basically tests plugin together at the test level, which is kind of a complementary to ATH, Acceptance Test Harness, which is a Selenium-based framework used in the Jenkins project. So yeah, we found a few issues, but right now I would say, correct me again if I'm wrong, that the most of the time is now spent on adapting tooling, but we do not see blocking or concerning issues surfacing anymore, I would say.
We have some reports for plugin compatibility, which we will likely need to fix before the GA. But yeah, we need to explore these options, and yeah, if we decide to go without a JAX-B, probably the scope for fixing plugins will be much wider, because there are plugins like TFS plugin, Test Complete plugin, HP Quality Center, and effectively many plugins which use XML parsing use JAX-B. And in this case, we will have to fix a lot of plugins, I believe.
Well, I already provided the list, so I don't know why you are.
I just reference popular plugins in this list,
Yeah,
which I consider very
already
important to fix.
And many of those, and that's something I was going to propose maybe to do in FOSDEM, by the way. Most of those usage are, for instance, using the data type converter. That was something that got fixed in the instance identity module here.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a one-liner, and most of the usages I found in the Jenkins community is exactly that usage. Basically, this thing in JAX-B is something that provides a small API to convert into base 64 thing. So basically, that's kind of an example of the removing JAX-B here. And I was like, not a one-liner, but almost, because replacing basically this by this, and then everything works fine. And I already fixed a few things this way in a few plugins. So obviously, there are going to be cases like in slog count plugin that's not that obvious, because in slog count plugin, it's just using JAX-B to serialize, which is the goal of JAX-B, serialize an object into XML and back. But in such case, I would say, well, and that's what I've wrote in the report, I think, probably it could be quite simply replaced by an extreme serialization for the same, result. So
in many cases, yes. Yeah, there are some potential issues in that, but yeah, I propose to discuss offline because we have limited time at this meeting.
Absolutely. I'm just watching the time. We have still a bit less than 10 minutes. So that we are right for now, because I think we were reaching the end of the meeting notes. So
is this the place for me to ask about operating system installers, whether they're required or not, or should we do that offline?
Depends. I mean, we can probably discuss the status, but I guess, yeah, as Oleg was hinting, I think we are not going to be likely solutionizing here. It's more like discussing or trying to summarize for anyone watching what's the status.
Okay, skip then. Thanks.
Okay, so I propose to have a wider discussion about compatibility at the next meeting, because yeah, if we agree that we need to discuss something for Debian, something for Docker, something for Windows, probably we should run a separate session about that.
Thank you.
Yep. So ATH is now, as far as I know, fully supporting Java 11, thanks to a lot of work from, at least, I'm going to forget people. So at least I know Oliver and Ramon has been doing a lot of work, but many other people, including people from the current meeting. But yeah, PCT has been fixed too, as far as I know, but we surfaced a lot of issues here and there. But in most cases I've seen, for instance, the one I have in mind is pipeline utility steps. The issue that was surfacing in PCT was never reproducible in the normal usage from Jenkins itself.
Yeah, PCT itself has a lot of limitations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an attempt to automate testing. So it's just an advanced version of setting up some system properties that tries to automatically resolve dependencies, etc.
Yeah.
But PCT itself is not guaranteed to work in all cases.
Yeah, exactly. And also,
So
yeah, there was a lot of changes in terms of class loading in Java 9 plus. And indeed, for instance, things like Java SQL are definitely not in the same class loader anymore. So that's probably why it's surfacing there and not in the normal usage.
yeah, most probably we'll need to have a patch on the Jenkins core side for it, because it's safer to have a patch than to risk and going without this patch. For example, we may get into the same issues when we deploy to web containers. So I was thinking about reviewing this issue later. It's not recorded in GA, but yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
complex issue because then what are we going to do about every like Java EE thingy that got extracted from the JDK? There's a that's probably the most blurry and difficult part because we don't know of issues yet with regard to what we tested. But as Oleg was concerned about, we could indeed later on find some weird usages of Jenkins because we know how much it's used in many situations where people would do some weird things with class loading and build on top of implicit behaviors which was never documented and guaranteed to work. So we'll have to probably decide in such case what we want to do. For instance, break compatibility like the JDK itself did. So that's a hard issue indeed.
Mhm.
So Oleg, you want to discuss that?
What exactly?
I'm showing it.
Yeah, it would make sense to discuss that, but we are running out of time, and there was a topic about Windows installers, and I'm not sure why this topic is missing in the agenda, but I believe that Alex is here on the call.
Isn't it
So
the same? The next one?
no, it's not the same.
Okay. No, anyway, we can just add something and let's discuss that now to have
Yeah,
this discussed with Alex. So
yeah.
Windows
For the JEP,
installer.
we discussed everything in action items, so I believe we can skip that for now.
It was something about using Chocolatey, right?
No, it's not chocolate, not only chocolatey, but also about Windows installer, MSI one.
Yeah, anyway, so let's just give the stage to Alex. I think you're still here.
Yeah, I'm here. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I have a cold, so I'll be coughing. I apologize. So yeah, I've uploaded the single repository, which has the chocolatey packaging as well as the MSI with the updates that I've made. That's I posted a link in the platform SIG Gitter channel. People can take a look. I don't know what the next step in terms of what people want to see. I can create a binary version of it that people can test if that's desired. Um, Mark did a little bit of testing when we were at Jenkins World, but I have made some updates since then. So I do need to also take into account Java 11. Right now, the installer looks for Java 8 installation. So I need to understand what is needed for Java 11 in terms of if there are any environment variables that need to be set or things like that to run under Java 11. That would probably be useful to add into the installer as well, so it's a good experience for the user.
Yeah, but
So
you firstly need to have automatic Java discovery somehow.
yeah, there's a registry search that it goes and it will find Java. Right now, it's only looking for Oracle's Java that may need to be updated depending on like the Amazon installer and stuff like that because the new licensing for the Oracle JDK and JRE.
Yeah. Could we just add an option to specify Java Home when you run installer, because it would be the most straightforward fix.
Yeah. So I was kind of aligning with the Tomcat installer, which I like for Windows. And it does have a capability. It does do a search, and then it will allow you to override that. So we could definitely do something like that to allow people to override whatever was found as the default if there was one.
Yeah, it would be nice.
That would be something we could definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, in terms of Chocolatey, I got in contact with the author of the current Chocolatey package, and he actually works for Chocolatey. So it was like someone requested the package, and Chocolatey went out and created one. And he was completely open to turning over maintainership. We just need to provide some sort of credentials to show that yes, we are from the Jenkins project, and so on and so forth. So I didn't know specifically what we wanted to do with that. I don't know if maybe a core maintainer emailing him. I can forward his email address to someone, but if someone with core maintainer rights and can link to their access or whatever on GitHub or something, I don't know, something like that. But that should be pretty easy. So the repository I uploaded is it has a Jenkins file that will build the MSI, and then it'll take that MSI and get the SHA hash information that's required for Chocolatey, and then build the Chocolatey package.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to publish Chocolatey packages. I filed an infra ticket to have Jenkins org account created on the Chocolatey page, so we can get an API key to be able to upload packages under that account. I didn't CC anybody on that yet, but I can. So yeah, lots of information. Sorry, it's kind of a brain dump.
No, that's nice. I think you're probably the best position to handle that. So if that last question was who should request access, I guess if you're ready or willing to do it, I guess it's very fine if you do it yourself, and we can just provide help or work together to get this done, I guess.
Okay, I can do that.
Great, thanks a lot.
Yeah. And feel free to just include platform SIG to CC, so that all of us are in place. And yeah, if you need special GitHub organization permissions, I have admin ones. Or we can just get Kiki or Tyler from Jenkins board to confirm the request. So multiple options are available.
Okay, and then at some point I need to probably have a good email conversation with Olivier about the CI builds for the installer.
Yep.
For the trusted environment for signing and that sort of thing, and how to publish like the MSI, for instance, to the mirrors, things like that, and then how we would kick off the builds when a release was being done for the main, like warp file and stuff like that.
Could we take inspiration for what has been done for Docker, like creating a special organization and Chocolatey that would be for experimental packages, so that we can, try it right away, test deployment from, the public-facing instance of CI, and then once it's proved to work, then it's kind of easy because then we make sure we secure it and push things the same way from the trusted CI server. Would it make sense?
Yeah, we can definitely do something like that. I can do that. I'll take a look at doing that today. Well, not today, but this week.
Yeah, because we can probably tell you that trying to test things in trusted CI is generally a pain because for reasons that nobody has access for the very good reasons. So yeah, the iteration loop is really long. So if you can make sure to iron out crap before trying in behind the VPN, basically it's probably best for everyone, even mostly for you.
Right. Okay.
Great. So anything else?
I think that's all for now.
Great. Thanks a lot, Alex. So, aka slide. So Windows Service Wrapper improvements was something different then. So what is that? I don't remember.
Okay, who on this call does know what is Windows Service Wrapper is? If no, I can briefly explain. Yeah. Probably I should just screen share to
Please
see.
do, Oleg.
Okay, and I'm closing Windows and try not to exit the call at the same time. Just a second. Okay.
Do the same, to try to not stop the call at the same time.
I have logged with another account. Yeah, there is a way to prevent stopping the broadcast. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yep. Yep. No, I'm saying yep, but not yet. I think we lost. Okay.
Yeah, if you make me a
I'm
presenter, it would
myself.
help. Okay. So long story short, in Jenkins, we do support Windows, and actually we allow installing Jenkins masters and Jenkins agents as Windows services. For example, MSI installer installs Jenkins as Windows service by default, but there are also ways to install it after the installation. For example, Jenkins offers a menu when you start an agent where you can install the agent as service, and similarly, you can install Jenkins Master as service from its web UI. And actually, all these flows are based on Windows Service Wrapper. It's a project started by KK originally. I took over its ownership maybe 5 years ago. So this is a project implemented in .NET, mostly in C#, which actually just wraps the service and offers installation logic like install, uninstall, so you can manage services from CLI. Yeah, there is a configuration file. Many of you call it, know it as Jenkins XML, but yeah, there is a configuration file which actually supports adding a lot of options. And yeah, these options allow to alter the behavior. In Jenkins, we have the default behavior. For example, there is a component called Windows. There is also a Windows Agents plugin, but I wanted to show Windows Slave Installer plugin. So this is a component which offers a UI option to install as a service, and it also has a sample for Jenkins Live XML, which defines the default configuration like that. So this is an XML file. And I have a GSOC project idea for this year to actually do some updates in order to stop using XMLs. There are multiple issues we have currently in Windows Service Wrapper. One of the issues is that the configuration is not being imported per se. It's been read on demand. So it means that all configuration entries are being read only when they are needed. And for example, there is on-failure behavior. So it will be parsed only when the failure actually happens. And it means that when failure happens, if you have a wrong configuration file here, it will just blow up. There were some attempts to include validation of inputs, but not everything has been done in this project. And yeah, I have a GSOC IDE which would actually focus on two things. One is updating configuration to support YAML. So instead of XML, maybe we could do something more friendly to users nowadays. And YAMLs are generally beta if you want to set up, for example, packaging in Chocolatey. There is also Windows Service packaging for Chocolatey available nowadays, and it's YAML based. And second part of the project is actually to improve validation and to improve diagnosability of the component. And currently I'm looking for potential maintainers, but the project is there. And if somebody is interested to be a stakeholder, please let me know. So the scope is firstly updating the Windows Service Wrapper component, but also updating Jenkins components. It's a Windows Agent installer, maybe my Windows Agents, which also uses Windows Service Wrapper, and of course Jenkins core itself. So this is the project, and if you want, there is also a bunch of, not a bunch of, but some feature requests. So if somebody likes C# or wants to study that, you can also contribute to this project. And you may see that it has actually more stars than the most of Jenkins sub-projects. maybe even more than Jenkins X, who knows. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. Why I say it in platform SIG. I hope it's more or less obvious, because yeah, it's a part of Windows support for Jenkins.
Okay, thank you.
So, any questions?
I don't think so. I don't have any.
None from me. Thanks, Oleg.
Thanks a lot. I think we covered everything. Maybe just I don't have to switch to the other window. Let me see.
Yeah, I wanted to check what. Yeah, I'll stop the sharing the screen if I still share. Yeah,
You already stopped as far as
okay. Yeah, so I wanted to know what is Alex's opinion about this project, whether it makes sense, because he's probably one of the Windows users. Okay.
Sorry, my microphone is muted. So I don't play a lot with the XML file, so I haven't had any issues in terms of configuration or anything like that. So I've kind of used the default settings. I don't really have as much input there. I know with the MSI installer, modifying a YAML file will not be as easy as modifying XML because there is not a custom action already in Wix, which allows you to modify YAML files. There is custom actions to modify XML files, and I'm using that now to modify like the path to the JRE and the port that's selected and things like that. So we'd have to look at how that would have to be updated and done. Maybe we'd have to write our own custom action in order to modify YAML files for something similar. But I mean, if YAML seems like a pretty common format, so if it makes it easier to manage and have better features, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, obviously we will retain XML compatibility whatever we do, and yeah, even if we do support YAML, part of this project is to improve validation, which would also apply to XML. And all other configurations, like we have a serious issue with agent installation flow, because in order to install agent as a service, currently you have to be system administrator. Actually, you have to be running Jenkins agent as a system admin, which is totally not the case. So maybe some rework of this installation logic, maybe to YAML, maybe not, would be reasonable. But let's see.
Sounds good.
So there was a last point, or last point about. Okay, that's here for me. You wanted, I don't know who added that, but the platform SIG and embedded SIG discussion. I think it's Oleg.
Yeah, it was also me. So the story behind it, we are going to start a new embedded special interest group, which would focus on common use cases like just embedded, IoT, automotive, whatever. It will be mostly a user group focusing on user stories, so use cases, how to address them with Jenkins. But yeah, when we talk about embedded, one of the most common questions is embedded platforms. So, for example, running on ARM, not server ARM, but there is a lot of use cases when people just run Jenkins agents and even masters on embedded configurations. And my question for discussion today was, how would we align that? Because yes, some of topics definitely, yeah, they will be relevant to platform SIG. Some will be relevant only for embedded SIG, but I definitely see some topics where there will be overlaps. And my question to you guys is, how would we approach that?
Let's take them in the embedded SIG. I would propose take them most specialized first, and then only hoist things that we think are more general case up if needed. So go with embedded first and discuss them in most depth there. Since you're in both places and several other people in the group will probably also be in both places, I see no risk, no problem with that.
Okay, should be fine. I believe we will have stories, at least Docker packaging soon, because we have ARM64 discussion. Well, and ARM64 is currently an embedded platform as well, I would say. So I believe we're already in this state, but yeah, getting more user feedback and embedded SIG, we will be targeting users, will be helpful for platform SIG as well. Okay, so that's what I wanted to discuss. And yeah, if somebody wants to join, there is a link in the mailing list, and we will be officially announcing this SIG in a few weeks, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And there was a last point, thanks Oleg, about handling meeting agendas, which is probably circling back to the discussion or the point we said at the beginning. I guess, given we run out of time, I suppose we can just decide in a few seconds or not. I mean, would it make sense to have a single document instead of one for meeting notes and one for... I mean, maybe I'm the only one asking for it, and then I'm fine with skipping the current way. I think, Mark, maybe you're probably the one who's been creating lastly the documents and then the new instances. What do you think about that one? Is like we don't care? You think it's already good as is right now, or?
So I like having I like having separate documents, one per meeting, because it helps me track things easier. But I'm okay with whatever the group decides. My personal preference is put the agenda only into the meeting notes and have the agenda document just have links to the various meeting notes documents. I'm hesitant to have a single document which includes all notes from all meetings just because of the size that I think they'll grow to. That was my concern, but I'm open to any. I am happy to record things and track things however you'd like.
I'm fine. Well, let's keep...
Oleg, do you have a particular opinion one way or the other?
No preference. We use different approaches in different SIGs. So in JSOC, we have a single status document. Well, in other meetings, well, like platform, we have separate ones. Both options work.
And given you've been doing the heavy lifting about that, Mark, I'm not feeling qualified to have an opinion in about that. So great. Thanks everyone. We're going to we've run out of time a bit, so see you next time, and thanks. Bye bye.